Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you for watching this video. So this evening, we are going to be talking about the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's MLIS with the archives concentration. My name is Sean Hayes. Here's my beautiful picture and some information about me. So I received my MLIS from the University of Pittsburgh in 2009. After I graduated, I worked as an assistant archivist at the University of Wyoming's American Heritage Center for 6 years, and I've been with SOAS for around 10 years now, actually a little over 10 years. Feels like it just started yesterday in a lot of ways, but I guess it's been 10 years now. So I'm one of the two main instructors in the MLIS concentration. The other main instructor that you'll encounter if you take archives MLIS courses is Dr. Force, Dr. Donald Force. So he received his PhD from the University of British Columbia in 2013. And he's been with SOAS, I think, for a little over 11 years. I want to say around there. I know he was there for a little bit before I joined SOAS. So we both have a lot of experience um, within SOAS, teaching the archives courses. Um, and we collaborate together to work on shaping the curriculum of the archives MLIS, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, and just sort of reaching the broader goals of our MLIS program, which is to graduate students that are prepared to succeed on the job market and become professionals. Because at the end of the day, I know that it's a student's goal is obviously to graduate and to be able to find employment and make a living and pay back those student loans. And so every decision that Dr. Force and I make about the curriculum and the overall shape of the archives MLIS is oriented towards helping you achieve that goal. And this evening, I'll talk about some of the ways that we do that and some of the ways that you as a student can increase your chances of being successful in the job market um, when you graduate. Okay, so I want to spend a little bit of time and just talk about archives in general. Um, I've been involved with archives in one way or another for uh, almost 20 years now, in between my first job volunteering as an archivist and then going to school and then working as a professional archivist and now being with SOAS for 10 years, more than 10 years. And the reason why my interest in archiving has been sustained for that long is it's just an interesting profession and one that I enjoy learning about, I enjoy teaching about. And a big part of that is because of the multidisciplinary nature of archives. So archives are fundamentally oriented towards providing access to records, but under that umbrella, there are a lot of different fields of study and areas of study that archives sort of straddles and addresses. So there's certainly a technological aspect of archives. So when archives provide access to records, when archives preserve digital records, there's a need to consider the technical components of records and how to preserve those and how to provide access to them. But there's also a complementary, but in some ways opposite aspect of archiving that deals more with sort of humanities-oriented issues like social justice, like social memory and the formation of identity, ethical issues in archives. So archiving is a combination of hard sciences and humanities. And when we talk about our curriculum later on in this presentation, we'll see that multifaceted nature of archives represented in our curriculum. But before I talk about the Archives MLIS curriculum, I'll talk about the overall MLIS curriculum, and then I'll put the Archives MLIS within within context of your overall MLIS that you would be taking as an MLIS student at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Okay, so for your overall MLIS, the requirement is 36 graduate credits, 30 of which must be in information and library science, and up to 6, which may be in related areas. So you do have a little bit of wiggle room to choose classes in related areas outside of SOAS to round out your MLIS if you'd like. Of course, those 6 courses can be MLIS courses if you would prefer to do that. But you do have that option to take up to 6 credits in related areas. Okay. And if you've already completed a master's or doctoral degree in a field other than library science, you can have that 36 credit hours reduced to 30 credit hours. So just recognize your prior learning and translate that into a reduction in the overall number of course credits that you are required to take. All right. I'll assume that most of you are going to be pursuing the 36 graduate credits. We have some students here and there that are only doing 30, but in most instances, students are going to be completing the 36 graduate credits. So of those 36 credits, 12 of them are required to be what we call the core MLIS courses. So Info Studies 501, Info Studies 511, Info Studies 571, and Info Studies 799. So every MLIS student, even no matter if you're a public library student, if you're an archive student, every MLIS student has to complete these 4 courses and get a B or better in them in order to graduate. All right, so that's 12 of your 36 credit hours accounted for. So next we'll hop over here and look at the Archival Studies, MLIS. And so this is a transcript designation. So we'll go on your transcript saying that you received this specific focus within your MLIS studies. And typically this is something that archive employers are going to look for to see that you have this specialized archive academic background and that you have the educational background to go into an archive and perform the processes and duties that archives perform. All right. So we'll hop over here to the requirements. I won't talk about the admission requirements too much. That's not really my area of expertise. If you do have any questions about admission requirements or application deadlines or anything like that, feel free to let me know and I can forward your question to the appropriate parties. So again, we have this note here about how of your 36 credit hours, you need to have at least 12 of those come from these core courses. And then in order to receive the archives concentration, you must take 15 courses of coursework, or I'm sorry, 15 credits of coursework in archives within your overall MLIS program. So 12 of those required 12 of those 36 credit hours would be your MLS core courses, and then you would need another 15 of those credit hours to come from this bucket of archives electives. So that totals 27 credit hours. And then you have some additional credit hours that you have more flexibility with as far as courses that you take. So there could be additional courses from the Archives MLIS. There could be additional courses from other parts of our MLIS offerings. And I talked about those six up to 6 credit hours that can come from outside of SOAS. All right, so to focus on the archives concentration a little bit more specifically, the concentration is broken down into a few different or 3 different buckets of courses. So we have the introduction course, so Information Studies 650, an introduction to modern archives administration. And this is a course that every archives student is required to take, and they must receive a B or better in order to receive the archives transcript on, or the archives designation on their transcript. So we offer 650 every semester, and it's a 15-week overview of the different processes the archives carry out, discussions on what is an archive, what is a record. The course talks about things like social justice in archives and legal and ethical issues in archives. So it's really a broad overview of the archives profession. It's meant to be a course where if you have experience working in archives, then hopefully you'll learn something new from our Intro to Archives course. But even if you don't have any experience working in archives, which most archive students don't, then this course is still going to be approachable for you. So again, we start off with very basic discussions of what is an archive, what are records, and then we kind of build on that and discuss different processes that archives carry out and some different things that affect what those processes look like. So it really is a ground up view of archiving, and it serves as a springboard to some of the foundational courses and elective courses that you'll take later on in your archives MLIS education. Okay, so next I'll talk about our foundational courses. So these are courses that provide, as the title might imply, foundational knowledge about archives. So we have arrangement and description in archives. So how do archives arrange and describe the records in their care? We have archival outreach programs and services, which talks about the importance of archives promoting themselves and demonstrating their value and advocating for access to greater resources, whether it be, an additional staff member, a new scanner, more storage space, or whatever the archive needs. We have preserving information media, which is a course that's focused on preservation, which is an important role that archives carry out and maybe the most recognizable role that archives carry out. And we have a foundational course related to advanced appraisal. So how do archives select which records come into an archive and what does that process look like? So you're required to take at least 2 of these courses. These are offered fairly regularly, so you won't have any problem taking these courses while you're a student. But again, we require students to take at least 2 of these courses because they are so foundational to archival science and just the everyday duties that archives do, or archivists carry out. And then we have this third bucket of what we call elective courses. So these are courses that are related to archives, but in a more sort of peripheral way. And so because of that more peripheral relationship to archives, we only allow students to count a maximum of 6 credits of these courses towards their archives MLIS. So you could only take a maximum of 6 credit hours of these courses and say, I want these to count towards the 15 hours of archives electives that I need in order to receive my archives transcript designation. Okay, and so Dr. Forst and I developed a structure just because we wanted to make sure the students were graduating from our program with this foundational knowledge, but we also wanted to give students freedom to pursue whichever area of interest in archives that they are most interested in. So if you're mostly focused on preservation or outreach, you can choose to take those courses. And again, taking Information Studies 650 will give you more knowledge about what these different parts of archiving look like, and then maybe you're in a better position to decide which foundational courses or which elective courses you might want to take in the future. So we tried to have this mix, tried successfully, I would argue, to have this mix of structure and making sure that students graduate with basic archival knowledge, but also giving students the freedom to really choose their own classes and to a certain extent choose their own degree as well. This curriculum is something that Dr. Forst and I think about developing, quite frequently. We're trying to, keep up with the profession, looking at job postings to see what kind of skills archivists are expected to possess, especially after they graduate. So we're always thinking about which classes we can add, which classes might not be a good fit anymore. And again, just making sure that our curriculum reflects what's going on in the profession and is going to provide our students with knowledge that they are going to need as a professional and knowledge that they can go and sit down in an interview with a potential employer and say, yes, I know about preserving digital records. Yes, I know what appraisal is. Yes, I know, what metadata is and what it's used for. A key focus with these courses, especially 650 and the foundational courses, is experiential learning. So having aspects of these courses that ask students to actually complete processes that they might be asked to do as a professional. So for example, in the Information Studies 752 archival outreach course that I teach, I require students to create a digital exhibit. I know in Dr. Forst's arrangement description in archives, he has students create a finding aid. So these courses are, again, really focused on providing students with experience working with different programs and different processes that they might work with and be expected to do as professional archivists. So again, that way, if you go to an interview, you can say, yes, I know about making exhibits. In fact, I made one in one of my courses. And, that's something that an employer might find appealing. So just an overall emphasis on experiential learning. Speaking of the curriculum a little bit more broadly, we do have a board of advisors that we bounce ideas about our curriculum off of, just to get a perspective sort of outside of the program by archivists who have been in the field for a long time. So that's another resource that we use when we're thinking about our curriculum, how to develop our courses, and how to make sure that we are providing an educational experience that is going to be beneficial for our students. Okay, so having spoken about the overall MLIS and the archives concentration and how the archives concentration fits within the overall MLIS, I want to speak about some keys to success that I have found over the years tend to separate students who graduate more prepared to be competitive on the job market versus students who graduate maybe a little less prepared to be competitive on the job market and may have a little bit more difficulty finding that first archival position uh, than other students who take advantage of different opportunities during their archives MLIS experience. So the first one that I will talk about is professional engagement. So all across the country, there are regional archival organizations. So for example, here in the Midwest, we have the Midwest Archives Conference. There's the Society of Southwest Archivists. There's the Conference of Intermountain Archivists. So there are archival organizations spread across the country in different regions. And there's a national archival organization as well, the Society of American Archivists. And these organizations can be great ways to engage with the profession. So, for example, the Society of American Archivists has different sections and roundtables that members can get involved with. So oftentimes these sections or roundtables are related to a specific area of archiving. So for example, if you're interested in digital preservation, there'll be sections or roundtables that are focused on that. If you're interested in archives related to Indigenous Americans or members of the LGBTQ plus communities, then there are roundtables related to that. And these roundtables are a great way to engage with the profession. You could serve as an officer. You could get involved with a committee involved with these sections or roundtables. And that's just a great way to learn more about a profession and learn more about a specific aspect of the profession that you might want to pursue in the future. Another great way that this can be beneficial for you is because of the networking opportunities. So if you're involved with these different sections and roundtables and various committees, it's a great chance to meet other archivists, to get your name out there, to hopefully leave a good impression on other archivists in the field. And maybe one day those archivists are hiring someone or they know someone that's hiring someone. And if they're already familiar with you, then they might be people that can sort of get help you get your foot in the door and find a good fit for you in the future. So this type of professional engagement can be a really powerful networking opportunity. And when a profession as small as the archival profession is, networking can go a long way towards success, finding a position, and maybe struggling a little bit more than some other people. Another thing that I will talk about as far as a key to success, so my second key to success is something that I just touched on, which is the curriculum that you pursue as a student. So as I mentioned before, you have a fair amount of freedom in choosing which classes that you want to take as part of your archives MLIS, but it really makes a lot of sense for you to keep in mind what kind of archive position you might want in the future when you are deciding which courses to take. So for example, if you think you might be interested in getting an archival job more focused on preservation, then it makes a lot of sense for you to make sure that you take preserving information media and probably metadata as well. If you think you're more interested in working in sort of the outreach / instruction part of archiving, then archival outreach and information literacy instruction would be good courses for you to take. So ideally, the curriculum that you pursue matches your overall interest in archives. And that way you have the academic background, the archival knowledge that you can use when you go to interview for a position, and you can say, yes, I'm familiar with these aspects of digital preservation. Yes, I'm familiar with these aspects of instruction. Yes, I'm familiar with these aspects of outreach. And that can help you have a more successful interview and a more successful job search than, if you're going after an archives position that's focused on preservation, but you never took preserving information media, and you're maybe little bit less familiar with preservation processes and concepts than other people who have that academic background. So you definitely want to try and match as much as possible your curriculum with your interests in what type of archival employment you'll have in the future, as much as you can. So that's my second key. So we have professional engagement as the first key. We have the curriculum that you pursue as the second key. And the third key that I will discuss is professional development. So having professional development on your resume can be something that can separate you from other people that might be applying to the same job that you are. And again, it can be something that can give you a leg up when you go to interview for a position. So one part of our curriculum that I will highlight related to professional development is our fieldwork course. So this is a course in which you can receive between 1 and 3 credit hours. So for every 1 credit hour that you wish to receive, you are required to complete 50 hours of fieldwork in a semester. Typically, students just complete the 3 credit hours, so 150 hours in a semester, but there is an option to break it apart a little bit more. And fieldwork is just a great way to get that professional development, to get that professional experience that can help you on the job market. So when you're interviewing, you can say, yes, not only did I learn about these things in graduate school as a part of my MLS, but I actually did them in at this archive. And again, that can be something that can separate you from other people who might be applying for the same position as you are. I talked about professional engagement as being a great networking tool. Fieldwork can be a great networking opportunity as well. So if you go to an archive and you do a good job and you work there, maybe the person that you're working for is hiring someone in the future. And if they've already worked with you, if they've already known the quality of your work, then it makes a lot of sense that you will be a strong candidate for whatever position they have open. And that's something that's happened, during my time here within SOAS, is a student will go and complete their field work in a repository, and either that semester or soon after, that repository is hiring, and lo and behold, the student that completed a field work there is successful in securing that position. Or maybe the person that supervises your fieldwork experience knows someone that is hiring, and they can say to whoever they know, yes, this person worked with me before, they did a great job. I think they would do a great job for you as well. So again, the archival profession is a fairly small one. A lot of people know a lot of other people in the profession, and so if you can demonstrate to one people or a few people that you're capable of doing really solid work as an archivist, that can generate a lot of good word of mouth that can sort of spread to other people, and that can be a benefit for you when you are looking for employment in the profession. Some other ways to gain professional development is by going to conferences and workshops. So typically, all of the regional and national archival organizations that I mentioned will have a conference every year. And if you can go to these conferences, it's just a great way to learn about archives, right? You can go to sessions that are related to the area or areas of study that you are interested in, and learn more about different ways that archivists are carrying out those processes. If you can go to a workshop that's focused on a particular topic or a particular subject, that could be a day or 2 days just about working through a specific issue. Like, for example, I've gone to workshops that discuss different tools for digital preservation. It could be different appraisal techniques. It could be promoting social justice in archives. There are a lot of different options out there. So these are really great ways to enhance your understanding of the archives profession and develop as a professional. And also great networking opportunities. Oftentimes at these conferences and workshops, there's a fair amount of time between sessions where people sort of meet each other and chit chat, and it's just a good way to get your name out there and generate some positive word of mouth for you, which again can be really helpful for you as you are entering the profession. All right, so I certainly understand that taking field work isn't something that everyone can do. A lot of us have jobs, a lot of us might have families to take care of. So not everyone can devote 150 hours within a semester to uh, to work at an archive. Not everyone can afford to go to a conference or workshop. I will say that conferences and workshops are getting better about being offered online, so that's maybe less of an issue than it was in the past, where you had to travel to Anaheim, California, or Omaha, Nebraska, to go to conferences and workshops. But it can still be difficult. So we realize that not everyone can avail themselves to these professional development opportunities. But I think it's still important to kind of think about pursuing them if you can, and just realizing the overall importance of professional development as you are a student. So again, when you graduate and you're able to, or when you start applying to jobs, you're able to separate yourself from other students that also just graduated and might be applying to the same jobs that you are. So if you can swing these different professional development opportunities, that's a beneficial thing for you to do, again, if possible. One thing that I will mention is that oftentimes regional and national archival organizations will have scholarships. Sometimes those scholarships will just go towards tuition, but a lot of times these scholarships will go towards the cost of registration or other costs associated with attending these conferences that I mentioned. So that's one thing to keep your eye on. I do send out a sort of semi regular archives program news email, in which I detail some of the different scholarships and other opportunities out there that I'm aware of. So that's one way that I try and keep students in the loop as far as different professional development opportunities out there, so that you can be aware of them and again, pursue them if that is an option for you. Okay, so again, the 3 keys for success that I discussed are professional engagement, choosing the best courses to match your professional goals, your career ambitions, and pursuing professional development opportunities. And again, ideally, those are going to match your employment goals as well, right? If you want to get into preserving records, it might not make as much sense for you to take an instruction workshop as it would for you to take a workshop related to digital preservation, right? So you kind of have to think strategically about what professional development you pursue and how that is going to help your career ambitions. With our fieldwork students, we try and put them in situations where they're going to be doing the work that they're interested in doing, that they want to do in the future. So again, there's a lot of alignment between their professional development and their overall career goals. For all these things, I would encourage you to talk to your advisors, especially as it relates to curriculum. Dr. Force and I are always happy to answer any questions about professional development, field work, professional engagement, any way that we can help you be successful in pursuing these three keys to being more successful on the job market and graduating, more prepared to find that first position. We're more than happy to help you out with those. Again, our overall goal within the Archives MLIS program is to graduate students who are as prepared to find positions as possible. And so again, any way that we can support you in doing that, we are more than happy to do that. Okay, so that's all I have for tonight. So I just wanted to talk about the Archives MLIS, the MLIS overall, and some of the keys to success, keys to graduating as a successful professional. And thank you for listening. Please let me know if you have any questions, and take care of yourselves.